and I do I feel really bad for our neighbours. Sorry.
Can you just sort of do a little demo of what you do to warm your voice up, please?
Or I do a lot of like lip rolls. There's a lot of all sorts of weird noises. My kids love it.
Oh, I like that. That's really fun. Really
You
fun.
need to know that Larissa sings lovely, all right? So
Oh
it's not
yeah.
like it's an awful training session.
That's why I asked her to do it. Oh, I love that, Larissa. That's so fun. I wish I could sing really well, but can't can't do. Yeah, I don't need to be able to do that. Anyone else? Anyone else sing in the shower? Sing to yourself. Does anyone sing the wrong words?
Always loudly.
My son does it on purpose. My youngest son deliberately sings the wrong
When
words.
you sing something, can your kids saying, "What you singing, Mum?" And I think they say, "Oh no, you got the words wrong." So you're thinking, "All right, okay."
Is that better, Karen? Can you hear us? I think Karen's struggling with sound a bit.
Now we've got spring here today. I don't know about anyone else. What flowers and birds, what spring signs have you seen? Is anyone feeling like
We
spring in
have
their
a
step?
we have a lot of daffodils and crocuses, which are up at the moment, which look really pretty. So that's a little bit of hope.
It so is, isn't it? Just gives you such a sense of well-being.
Mm.
Anything else springish in your step? Anything to look forward to?
I saw a big bumblebee yesterday, which I don't know if like that is a inherently spring-like thing, but I always like when I see my first official big bumblebee of the season, I'm like, yes, this is lovely to see. Yeah, I think it is just like a sign of warmer weather, isn't it? It's
They're
about
lovely, aren't they, bumblebees? Yeah,
yeah.
my mum likes to try and stroke them if she can, like a teddy bear, because they're kind of fluffy. She gets away with it somehow. Any other signs of spring or things we're looking forward to?
Just the light nights, isn't it? It's just so I can go out for a dog walk without having to like put a high vis on, sort of thing. It's lovely.
Yes, definitely. A little bit extra. Will, can I encourage you into a bit of small talk? I know it's not your favorite thing.
It's not my favorite.
It's like, no, I've switched off.
No, I mean, I'm actually behind on this, and I've just realized I've just logged into the portal because I've been on holiday for a few weeks. I was in Australia, where obviously it's the other side, so they've just come into autumn now, so it's quite yeah, it's actually been really good because when I left, it was pouring with rain and all the rest, very cold and dark, and I sort of arrived home and it sort of feels like, oh, I get to sort of go back on a journey to, back into summer, spring, summer. So I'm feeling good.
Wow, that's weird, Will. It must feel like you've kind of traveled back in time.
It is a bit like that. Yeah. But weird in a really good way. So I'm
Yeah,
certainly not complaining. Yeah.
Australia. What was the highlight of being there?
My sister got married. Well, obviously seeing family and friends. But my sister got married at the Sydney Opera House. So, and I was because my parents are no longer here, so I walked her down the aisle. So that was really,
Oh, Will,
yeah, so it's really sweet. Yeah, it's fun.
that's so special. I love that. I hope you got an amazing photo of you both at the.
Oh yeah, plenty of those. Yeah,
Oh, well done for going. Well done. That's
yeah, thank you.
incredible. Oh, I love that. Right, without further ado, we're going to jump into today's session, and actually there's a lovely link there. Will, it would have meant so much to your sister that you were there to do that. What an amazing gift for her, and covering as well with your parents' absence as a brother to go and do that. And that really does epitomize our mindset for today, which is all about love. So here's the verse for today. So just drink this in for a minute or two. A new command, said Jesus, I give you: love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. So loving others is Jesus' idea, and it starts with him loving us. There's a verse in the Bible which says, "We love because he first loved us." You can't give away what you don't have. You can't pour from an empty cup. So in order to love, we need to be recipients of love. We need to know that we are dearly loved in the very wiring, in our very putting together, in our very identity and essence. We were lovingly formed. And that is, I think, something that Christianity offers to the whole world, is that sense of every single person being worth something very, very deeply, very, very valuable, because they were lovingly put together. And Jesus then came to earth to show us how loved we are. So if we can receive that love, and then we can give that love. And what does that love look like? Well, I'm just going to recap on your last session when Gabriel led you through this brilliant tool, the leader mindset, where really he defined love as liberation. To love someone is to fight for their highest possible good. And to lead someone with love is for us to fight for the highest possible good in the lives of those we lead. Fighting for their good isn't necessarily going to be easy, and it won't happen accidentally. It happens by thinking about the support and challenge that they need, the tendency and pattern that's most undermining their influence, and how we can help them get to the next level. Too many leaders just concentrate on doing their work, doing their job well, and hoping that their example will be enough. An example is a great aspect of leadership, but it's not the only one. We also need to be intentionally thinking, how can I do my work and help others to do their work well? And that works not just in the workspace, but at home as well, and in our families. So what's the link between that tool and this tool? Well, if we are fighting for the highest good of everyone we lead, then we won't just cheerlead them. We won't just tell them they're doing a great job. We won't just accept whatever is the standard of work they're bringing, but we will call them up. We'll call them up to what they could be, to who they are. We'll remind them of who they are and how they can grow, how they can develop. And that might mean bringing some challenge, bringing it in an intentional way that is liberating, an intentional way that helps them to get to where they need to be. And there's a reminder there that that calling up is in green. And that's a reminder that it calibrates to the support challenge matrix. And when we are calling someone up, what we are doing is we are empowering them to grow and giving them an opportunity to step into, rather than just simply protecting them. Protecting them is the cheerleading bit, keeping them low, allowing them to feel that they're doing fine and that they can feel entitled then to our support. But actually it leads to mistrust, because down the line they may well miss out on an opportunity that we haven't highlighted to them because they haven't got what they need, because we haven't actually done that work of showing them where they need to be and what gap they might need to fill to move forward. So the other way that we can also get this wrong is, rather than cheerleading someone, we might call them out. So maybe when we do bring a challenge, we do it without the right level of intentionality. We do it in a way that is clunky, and it just comes across as we're just for ourselves. Often, if we've been cheerleading for a while, but someone has been triggering us by their tardiness or by the low competency level, we can then suddenly make a comment that's quite curt. It comes out of the blue, and someone just feels slightly dominated by that. They don't quite understand where that has come from, because it's not done in a way that it's obvious that we're for them. And that's why it's in red. It sort of tallies to that dominate quadrant. And actually people can feel slightly manipulated if we kind of drop a hint in, or if we are doing it in a way that is threatening, clunky, or too blunt. So it's thinking carefully about how we actually lead somebody on. Is there a timely way that we can call them up and make sure that they are in a place to hear it? So that's the calling up. What is your tendency? Be having a feel around. Do we tend to call out? Do it accidentally or clunkily, or bring too much challenge? Or do we tend to cheerlead only and not actually tell them how they can improve? And that's really the way I want to look at the communication code today. We'll do a deep dive on this in other areas in a couple of weeks, but I want to think about it from the point of view of the calling up, calling out tool, the liberator's intent tool. When we are meeting with someone and we're thinking about how we can help develop them and call them up, we do need to be conscious of these 5 C's. So starting at the far right, thinking about celebration and care. What are they doing well? How will they feel that us calling them up is positive? Well, first of all, we can celebrate what's going well. What are they doing that is brilliant? What sort of value are they adding? What are they bringing? And then also care. This might be a difficult conversation to have, so let's do it sensitively. How are you? We could ask someone if their partner's going through an operation at the moment. It might not be the best time to do the calling up work. So checking in with someone, checking that they're in a space to receive the kind of calling up that they need, is really important. And then those middle two, clarify and collaboration, getting really clear on what exactly it is that person can move forward on. So the clarify code is helpful when we think about how we can call up. So here's 3 key words that I'll add to your understanding of this tool today. Number 1, specify. So tell the person exactly what it is specifically that they need to improve. What do they need to improve? Specify. So what's not going quite so well, and tell them what it is. So an example in the home for us was Sunday evening. My youngest son was in the bath, and the other 3 of us were sort of crowded around the bathroom because we were praying for some friends in the Middle East who were experiencing missiles and things. So we were sort of gathered around the bath, and I thought this is a really good opportunity actually to call my family up on something that I've been having to do on my own for quite some time. No one else seems to have been doing this, and it was refilling the shower gels from a big vat. So I have a big vat of faith in nature, and I have plastic bottles that we refill to save on plastic. So I thought this is a great opportunity. So I thought, let's be specific, guys. Is anyone else refilling the shower gels? And there's just silence. Nobody else is. Okay, so I said specifically, what I'd like to do is everybody to start doing this because it would just help me out. I've been not so well lately, and I need to start calling my family up to helping out a bit more at home. Quantify. Is this a big thing? Is this a medium thing? Is this a small thing? Okay, this is a small thing, guys, but it would really make a difference to me. So I was able to label it. Some people find it hard to quantify when you call them up how big a thing is, particularly connectors, yellows. If you tell them that there's something they can improve, they can very quickly make unhelpful connections and think, oh no, they don't like me. I've let them down. When actually it's just a small thing. So quantifying how big this challenge is really helpful for them. Likewise, if you've warned somebody about something, and we're now getting to a place where there could be a warning letter, there could be some consequences because this behavior has not been addressed. Tell them this is actually now becoming a big thing. This was a small thing, but it's now becoming a bigger thing because we haven't seen any action or any progress on it. It's only fair to tell them. Clarity is kindness. So quantify is how big is this thing? That's really helpful for people to know. So I was able to say it's a small thing, but it make a big difference to me. And then thirdly, rectify. Rectify means what does that person need to do to improve? Can you show them example of good practice? So with my shower gel example, I literally got the wire rack out and put it across the bath, put the plastic bottle under the knob and poured it in and showed them, look, this is how to refill the shower gel, a really basic thing. But I didn't want anyone making a mess, doing it over the carpet or, so I was like, this is how you do it. And you put the lid back on, you put it back in the cupboard. I showed them this is what good practice looks like. And likewise with a work task, can you think of an example that you could show them of good practice? So just say they've done a proposal, but it's just not up to scratch. Can you show them an example of one you've done that's excellent? What does good practice look like? If it's a presentation, there might be one on YouTube. Say, go and watch this one because this is showing you how to do some of the things that I've mentioned. How can you actually give them an example to follow of what good practice looks like? Give an example when you're calling them up so that they know how to change it and make it better. When I was a teacher, we'd often do this by sending a teacher into someone's classroom who did the thing. So my critique might be, you're not getting enough discussion going in the classroom. You're just chalk and talk. But my friend Zach, our colleague Zach, he does this really well. So go and book in, ask him if you can sit at the back of his classroom when he's next got a year 9 class and watch what he does. So rectify, think, how can I show them some good practice? Those are the 3 areas that are going to help in terms of you knowing how to call them up. So I hope that example is helpful and you can apply it to your context there. Back to the communication code tool, that's clarify, check that they understand. So here's what I've shown you. What did you hear there? Do you know how to make this right? Tell me back, replay. What did you hear? And what can you take from it? What's your takeaway? It's a really good phrase. I use it all the time. What's your takeaway from what you've just heard? Collaboration, work at it together. Can you think of any ways that you could improve this as well? They might have come up with something you haven't thought of. So getting their input as well is really, really helpful. And then finally, critique. It's often missed off, particularly if we're cheerleader types. It's missed off, but we need it. Asking the difficult questions, thinking it through, being able to bring the critique in a way that's kind, having looked at the other 4 codes first is the best approach. But critique must be done if we're going to improve. Without critique and without calling up, companies and individuals don't get to achieve their potential. And that's hard. And down the line, that leads to mistrust, as we know from the support challenge matrix. It leads to a culture of entitlement and mistrust. And that's not what we want for people we love. Okay. So breakout 1, if you want to take a photograph or a screenshot, there's a fair bit to discuss there. Who do you need to be intentional about calling up? Is it somebody at home? Is it somebody at work? Is it someone in a volunteer capacity? What is your default with them currently? Are you calling them out? Is it clunky? Or are you cheerleading? Or are you doing a combination of the 2? You might also want to consider here the communication code and which codes you are doing and using and which perhaps you could think about bringing in. Okay, enough from me for now. Any questions on this? It's a lot of good content here, but I'm really interested for you to process this together. Okay, great. Okay, off to the breakout rooms, discussing those issues and then coming back. Can't wait to hear what you have to share. Hello, Sarah, let's go to you first.
Oh, I can't find you on my screen a minute. Wait, oh, there you are.
Hello.
Okay, so I was with Alex, and it's quite
Oh,
good with Alex. So
lovely.
we were talking about maybe sometimes it's that the tone when we call someone up. Because when I went through this, I thought, oh, I'm not allowed to call people up then. And then you've explained, well, yeah, you can, but and I understand. I've sort of got my head around it a little bit better now. So when I call people up, it's like I sort of think about my tone and what I'm calling them up on and things like that. And um yeah, we were sort of chatting about, when you're trying to it's like setting those boundaries as well. Because like when you're trying to talk to your kids about something, they ain't gonna learn if you don't call them up, are they? They're gonna plod
Mm,
along.
mm,
And it's
mm,
about learning, isn't it? So
mm, mm,
it's calling up in the right way. And
mm.
then oh no, calling out, sorry, in the right way. And then obviously calling up is always quite nice, isn't it? Everybody likes to call up, don't they? It's
Yes, thank you. Actually, exactly. And it's just the lingo, isn't it? Being called out is sort of a bit like being shamed in this analogy. So think of like a personal trainer. If they call you out, if I go to my gym on Friday and I've not been that well, so I haven't been working out, on my gym, my personal trainer says, "Oh, Laura, what have you been doing? You're huffing and puffing. You've got nothing this week." I'll feel shamed. I'll feel called out. But if they say, "Oh, Laura, have you had a tough time? This isn't,
yeah,
you're usually benching this amount. You totally got this. Let's go. Come on, we'll just do a few more. Come on, let's go." Then you're going to feel so much better, aren't you? You're going to feel much more like, yes, I can do it. So it's thinking that through, isn't it, as a personal trainer would. So rather than shaming somebody, "Oh, you've let me down," I'm thinking about this with regards to my parenting as well. Rather than shame someone, "You've let me down," is actually reminding them who they are. You're calling them up to who they are. This is who you are. hey, you're a really kind guy, so why are you treating your brother like that? That's not you. You know,
Mm.
it's so much more accessible, isn't it, to do it in that way? So yeah. Good. Alex, anything to add from your chat with Sarah?
Well, yeah, no, it was a really good chat. I was actually saying that I any of that positive stuff, I hate hearing that first because you can just tell that this is leading up to something that's not positive. And I'm always like, cut to the chase. Let's get this out of the way. I can hear the nice
Yes.
stuff at the end, but if there's something I need to hear, let's hear it straight away. Um, but what I've always found really useful, that thing of thinking of what it's like to be opposite you, what would work for you, is like we're all chatting and quite often with the people who I work with, it's a very kind of chatty, bantery, kind of friendly atmosphere. But if it is a meeting or a one-to-one or a conversation that's not that, I always like to hear from the beginning, actually, this is going to be a serious conversation. This is going
Yes.
to be, the grown-ups are going to be, this is a serious thing. And I do that for the people who I've worked with, and I've found that helps as well to know from the outset, going to be talking about some slightly more serious stuff here. And that sets, I think, creates a space for right, okay, so that if you are going to be talking about stuff that's a little bit harder to talk about or harder to hear, that it doesn't come out of the blue, it isn't unexpected, it isn't sort of, oh, we were just cracking jokes about our favorite TV shows and now this. So
Yes.
creating that space from the outset, I've always found really helps.
Alex, I think that's such a helpful point to raise, isn't it, guys? Because what it reminds us of is personal preferences as well. And that's why we started this call by recapping on that initial tool. This is a really important thing to grasp. So the leader mindset tool asks this question: what specific support and challenge do they need from me? This is a really important tool to use with every single one of your direct reports. And you can ask them that question: what kind of support and challenge do you want from me? And how do you want me to bring it? How do you want me to bring it? And there will be people who will say, do it gently. Remind me who I am. Remind me what I'm good at first. There'll be people who will say that. And there'll be other people, as Alex has outlined, who say, don't cut around the corners. Don't cut any corners. Don't mince your words. Just rip it off like a plaster. Tell me straight away. Tell me what to expect. Because otherwise I relax and I'm lured into a false sense of security. I want to know right from the offset if there's something we need to discuss. So keep the time short between if you say, oh, let's catch up, but there is something we need to discuss. Don't say, and we'll do that in 2 weeks. Horrendous. That needs to be as immediate as possible, and it needs to be as in person as possible as well. So if you haven't yet listened to that keynote that we gave on feedback for the whole of Bible Society, that would be one to put on while you're cooking some time or gardening or whatever. But that goes into a lot more depth on how to give feedback in a way that is helpful and bespoke to the person. So thanks, Alex. Great reminders. Will, let's go to you first. Next.
Yeah, that was really really insightful. Thank you, Alex. A few things we discussed. I guess one of the big observations from this particular session is just thinking about how I am at work and then how I am at home. Um, and I do naturally, I think, default to being the cheerleader because it's easy, and everyone likes to be liked. So that's something I'm certainly aware of and working on. But I do notice at home it's easier to to do the calling out because you obviously with kids and things, you're modeling certain behaviors, and this is how we do things. At work, though, it's probably more of a reflection, something to think about. I'm a little bit more of the cheerleader, I think, in the work setting because it is a bit difficult and awkward sometimes to have those honest conversations, but understanding that we do need to because it's all about development and we've got to get to a certain place. We've got goals, targets, and we need everybody to be pulling in the same direction. But yeah, that was probably the biggest takeaway for me. It was just more of a personal reflection about how I am at work versus at home, and what might need to be tweaked there.
Very good. Excellent. Yes. Good to get clear on the space that you need to be intentional in. Karen.
I would say I'm more of a cheerleader, but at the same time setting a challenge as well, um, rather than sort of calling out. Um, yeah, that's what I've got to say really.
Yes, so just
Unfortunately, I missed most of your first part. I do apologise.
that's okay. That's you trying to get in, weren't you? So just recognizing that you're the cheerleader and seeing the worth in calling people up. Can
Yeah.
you think of one person where you think actually I could help them to get to the next level or to improve on what they're doing? You don't have to say their name, but have you got someone in mind?
I have got someone in mind that I discussed with Kate. Obviously, I'm new to role research, and I had a couple of sort of part timers that didn't sort of feel part of the team. Um, so I've been sort of getting them more involved, doing tasks that you ask your team do, and they now feel more involved, more valued, more appreciated. Yeah.
Very good. And it's interesting the role that calling people up can play in people feeling valued.
Mm.
Sometimes just being able to stretch their muscles a bit
Yeah.
more, offer something extra, and being
Mhm.
asked to step up can really bring them in.
It can do indeed, definitely.
Great. Kate, anything to add there?
Yeah, just sort of reflecting, I think for myself, generally, I am a cheerleader, or at least aim to be and hope to be most of the time. And yeah, I think like sometimes I do probably find it a bit difficult to like bring the challenge. But I think yeah, definitely really like the sort of praising, like calling up, and sort of focusing it on sort of how is this going to help the person grow? How is it?
Yes.
Because me and Karen were sort of talking about, it is actually important within a workplace to have that sense of challenge and not, sort of be treading water with same tasks sort of month after month after month, but actually feel like there's opportunity to kind of grow and develop and challenge yourself. And I think that does make a big impact on your overall sense of purpose, doesn't it? So
Yes.
yeah, just kind of, yeah, I think calling up is like, how can you find ways to help that person grow?
Very
And
good.
then like that you sort of said as well, like you can ask people like, how would you like to kind of develop? How would you like me to bring challenge to you?
Yes.
Something like that.
That's so good. And actually, that is the work, Kate. That is often the work for cheerleaders is the motivation. And you said, how can you find ways to help that person to grow? And you said that a couple of times. That really resonated. So if you've grasped that, that is work really, really worth doing. Larissa, let's come to you. Thank you for your patience.
Um, like everyone else has said, I do find the celebration side of things easier. I'm very good at kind of encouraging people and kind of always and very intentional about seeing all the positives and things. Um, but I've definitely seen how if you bring kind of good challenge to people in your team, it can really improve their performance. So someone in my team, I kind of took over management of them a couple of years ago, and under their previous manager, they were in danger of potentially they were kind of really underperforming, and there were kind of quite a lot of issues. And as I was working with them, I realised that whenever there were tasks that had kind of split responsibility, they would never pick up the responsibility because they would always let the other person do it, and it just meant that things were like dropping off all the time. So I kind of rejuggled tasks within the team and just gave them full responsibility for quite a few things. And kind of over the space of a few months, their performance had like massively improved. And actually now I would say they're probably one of the highest performing people within our team because I'd kind of been able to identify actually what makes them tick and how, like, if I say to them, this is yours, you're going to do it. My expectation is that you do X, Y, Z by this point, and I will check in with you when you've done it. Then actually they function so much better like that. And I think I was kind of a bit concerned at the beginning of, oh, I'm not quite sure if this is going to work. But actually, I've seen that it's really paid off. So I would definitely recommend the like not being scared of the challenge part, even though it doesn't. I don't know that it comes naturally.
That's so good. So what I've heard you say there is that you worked out what made them tick. You worked out how to get the best out of them. And deadline sounds like it was a very important thing. You said, I'm going to hold you responsible for this and I'm going to check in with you. Is that right? On
Yeah.
whether it's been done. That's a key element. Everyone hear that from Narissa, that some personality types need a deadline and need accountability in order to follow through on the calling up challenge that you've given them. They need to know someone is going to ask them. And that's what we do as coaches. You know, if I'm coaching someone monthly, I say, I'm going to ask you how this has gone. Next week, coach someone this week. I look back at the notes and it said, ask him whether he has brought S challenge, you know, how it went, because he was like, I've got to bring S challenge, but I don't want to do it. So I asked him, how's it going? And he just grinned. He was waiting for the question. And if I hadn't have asked him, I would have done him a disservice. I wouldn't have been bringing my best to him as a coach. So that's what we are. Good leaders are coaches of our people. So giving them deadlines and accountability, that's a really great one, Larissa. Thank you. So for us to be able to do this, we need to be doing this for ourselves, don't we? You know, love others, yes, but first we love ourselves. Love one another as you love yourself. So are we liberating ourselves? Are we calling ourselves up or are we calling ourselves out? You know, I overheard somebody not long ago trying to do something and they couldn't do it and they went, oh, idiot. That's what they were saying to themselves. They were calling themselves out. They were shaming themselves. And if you're doing that to yourself, you don't have the capacity to bring others the calling up that they need. So be thinking about what you do to yourself. Maybe you're the opposite. Maybe we cheerlead ourselves and we don't give ourselves enough challenge. We don't do something that scares us. Someone said, do something that scares you every single day. Claire has got a great example. I wasn't very well last week and we booked in a networking event, quite a high profile networking event to go to together where we weren't going to know lots of people. I knew a few people, but Claire didn't know anyone and I wasn't very well. So I sent her a message that morning saying, Claire, I can't, I'm not going to make it today. I really just need to rest. You know, I'd love you to go to the event, but I totally understand if you don't want to. Claire, would you like to share what you decided?
Yeah, so it was, I mean, I think I literally had about an hour or so, a couple of hours notice. And ordinarily doing a networking event where I don't know anybody would be the absolute last thing I would do. I would never voluntarily go and do something like that. But I've got a nearly 10-year-old and 12-year-old, and I'm regularly telling them that sometimes they have to do things that they don't want to do and they don't know what the outcome is going to be. So I decided to put my big girl pants on and go on my own. And as we were walking in, I managed to get one of the like last parking spaces on site. Otherwise, I would have had to have had like a bit of a trek. As I was walking in from the car park, I thought there's a guy in front of me, but there's a woman in front of me, in front of him. So I kind of kept half an eye on her whilst she was doing registration and she got further ahead of me, went to the coffee station, got herself a coffee. And I arrived just as to the coffee station just as she was sort of walking into the room, and I thought, oh, I'm going to see where she goes. And she just sort of turned around and looked at the rest of the room. So I was like, right, quickly make my coffee. And I just made a beeline straight for her. And I said, hello, are you on your own as well? And actually, she was really lovely. And hopefully, I think she's going to be a really good person for me to have connected with. So, yeah.
So good. And we saw
It
her
ended well.
yeah, it was brilliant. And we saw her just yesterday and she was saying, I'm so glad you came up to me, Claire. I was just there thinking I don't know anyone. So not only did you liberate yourself by calling yourself up, you actually liberated her at the same time as well. You know, isn't that lovely? That's double liberation. So the 5 circles is a reminder, isn't it, that we have to apply these tools first to ourselves. We have to think, what's going on for me? Am I cheerleading myself and just giving myself excuses to do the easy things? Or am I dominating myself? Am I giving myself a whole load of challenge and maybe even some shame talking, but I'm not supporting myself? What support and challenge do I need? And am I modeling that to my team and my family as well? Like Claire wanted to model it to her girls. And then our families, and then the team as well, and so on into the organisation. So be thinking about this tool in relation to self first, then family and team. So we've identified, and I've heard quite a few of you say, I know I'm a cheerleader. So we've identified tendencies. My tendency is to cheerlead and to not actually call people up. Now, what consequence does that have? Not calling people up has the consequence of people not growing, as we've heard from Kate there, and also of your team not being able to achieve its potential. So the reality you live in is probably a bit of apathy there. So the small pattern changes, I am going to do an intervention. I'm going to speak to that person I've identified and I'm going to call them up on this specific thing. Okay. So thinking about your patterns, what are you going to do that makes a difference here? So think about a specific person and a specific action. So just have a sort of think around, there may be lots of this that you already knew or you're already doing, but what is the one thing in this talk today, in this discussion, what is one thing that you think I can improve that? So could it be the specified, am I specific enough? Or do I give them 100 things at once when I do call them up? That'll just feel like calling out. Am I quantifying it? Do I bother to tell people whether this is small, medium, or large? If not, I can add that in and rectify what can I give them as good example of good practice. The response is who is it, what is it, and execution is when. So think about your direct reports or think about your family members. When is a good opportunity for you to execute the change that you have envisioned with them? So breakout 2 is the core process. What is my next step to liberate my team member or myself, my family, or my team member? Who needs my liberation today? And as I said, it could be a volunteer role, it could be something at work, or it could be something in the home. I was thinking about, Larissa's thinking about music. We started by talking about your music. In a band or in a music group, you just wouldn't put up with someone who was flat or his instrument wasn't tuned. You'd call them up to tune their instrument, right? So how can we apply that sort of standard to our team members at work as well? Do we need to just increase our level of what we think is good practice and acceptable performance? Any questions? Great, back in our twos. Let's get to a specific application point from today's session. That's the way to make it have impact. One specific takeaway from today. We're much more likely to apply it if we have specification. Karen, why don't we go to you first? Actually, did we hear from you first in this pairing before we did? So Kate, we'll go to you first.
You've read from Kate as well.
Yeah, I was just sharing with Karen that we've got a church weekend away this weekend coming up. So students and young adults one. And so I was just saying I'm sort of helping out as part of the kind of catering sort of setup team, things like that. So I was just saying that I'm going to sort of use this as an opportunity to kind of really reflect on these tools. So like, how can I be a good cheerleader, but also like encouraging people to sort of step up or like see the opportunities to help. Because I think often it's like people are almost a bit like, if they haven't been directly asked to do something or they're not part of the core catering team or whatever, they just sort of think, oh, it's not really my place to do that, or like, oh, it's all being sorted. But then, I was just saying, for example, when the catering team will be doing it, it's like, they'll be probably setting up, then cooking all food, inevitably end up tidying up and like actually be, not probably be a bit rushed or not have that sort of quality time over the meal potentially. So just sort of, seeing if I can use it as a positive opportunity to sort of say, oh, it'd be really great if you wouldn't mind just like clearing some plates or seeing ways to kind of, share tasks around a bit more and also sort of make everyone sort of feel that they've got a space to do that and that they're valued for helping out and stuff.
Excellent. So calling them in and saying, here's my expectation of how we can do a good job today. And it's based on what you've seen before. You're calling them up to do better than they have in the past. But
Mhm.
setting an expectation is a brilliant way to bring challenge ahead without bringing criticism. Kate, love that. Larissa, let's go to you next because you waited last time till the end.
Um, yeah, I was saying just within our team, we've got quite a lot of changes happening. So we've got a couple of people that have retired after being at Barber for like 18 years. So quite big gaps to fill. So we're just sort of reallocating things within the team. And I was saying I've got someone coming back from maternity leave, and then someone's been covering them, but is now in a permanent role. So I'm just looking at how to like trying to split the jobs, knowing like who's the best person to do what thing. But then sometimes it's easier to give all the more productive jobs to the person that is more productive, and then the person who is less productive, you sort of give them less because you have less expectation of them, whereas actually that's not really fair to them or the other person. And it's kind of that sense of challenging the person who could be more productive to kind of do better and not like overload the other person who like will whiz through everything. And I think for me that's kind of what's on my mind for my team at the moment.
So good. And because you've processed where it worked, where you took a not very productive person from not being very productive to being one of your most productive people, applying those principles again, you never know, might yield a similar outcome. So be confident that you've got that track record, which is exciting to hear. Sarah.
So I sort of said I want to be a better cheerleader for people in my team. And it's funny, Larissa's come out with that, but I've got a member of the team that just likes to shy away in the background and do the little jobs and things like that. And I've said to them at their PDR, I'd like you to take on more responsibility. And I think you can do this and this. Well, I don't want more responsibility, they said to me. So I said, well, I said, I'm giving you more responsibility. If you don't want it, we'll have to discuss this further. And I'll have to get HR involved. Um, and it's like, oh, right, okay. And I said, you're more than capable of doing this work. And I said, I wouldn't give it to you if I didn't think you were. And I've sort of scheduled it out and just like, oh, right, okay. And now I've got to do a check-in now to make sure that this is fine with them. And we said, it's like Alex and I said, you are the manager. You're paid to be that manager. So you've got to do the call up and the call out business, whether it's nice or not. So I have to go back to the boss and say, right, how are we making progress with this?
Very good. So it's calling up is the ideal. So cheerleading only isn't good enough because they're not going to grow. And calling out isn't good enough because they're going to just take issue with what you're saying, that we're not giving them an opportunity to feel as though they're believed in. So what I like about what you said there, Sarah, was you've got this, you've got capability. I wouldn't ask you to do it if I didn't think you could do it. So that's a good place to be right there in the middle. We've run out of time, but I'm sure there were some other really, really good takeaways. Please be applying them. Do you mind if we just take a quick photograph of us smiling before we go on this lovely sunny day? So, Claire, would you mind just taking a photograph just for our posts? Is that good? Thank you, thank you. And we've lost somebody who's dropped off. Will.
Well,
Well, just
Yes, brilliant. Now we've got communication code. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to really delve into this one. This is such an important tool. And sometimes they give you extra things to do. And I appreciate there's not always time to do the extra resources that Tracy recommends, but I would really encourage you to dig into the communication code series here. She does recommend it as an extra resource. It really is worth the time you put into it. It's Steve Cockram at his absolute best, and it's got lots of insights for home, family, and for self as well. So thank you so much. Well done. Great time today. Enjoy the rest of your lovely sunny day. See those birds, see those flowers, and see you soon.
Thank
you,
you.
Laura.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Claire.
Bye.
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 Bye, guys.